Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here Wednesday night, coming into Thursday. Talking about WWE's Roadblock pay-per-view for WWE's Monday Night Raw brand. Honestly, when you look at Roadblock end of the line, honestly, in my mind, I look at the title, Roadblock. They've already done one Roadblock this year, which was on the Fastlane to WrestleMania. It was in between Fastlane and WrestleMania this year. They decided to have a WWE Network special. I know that many people have not really remembered it, but I thought it was a fun night watching wrestling live on the WWE Network, live from Toronto. Because of the fact that it was a network special and not billed as a pay-per-view, I honestly felt like that was a free night of wrestling. I honestly felt like it was a night of wrestling that we weren't supposed to see unless we were in Toronto, getting to see the live house show. Dean Ambrose versus Triple H was built up on Monday Night Raw by the fact that Triple H had taken out Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose filled in for his Shield brother. He was getting a shot at the WWE Championship, a shot that not many title defenses were made by Triple H. He was on Monday Night Raw, but he was always in that corporate Triple H mode unless he was beating ass, taking names and beating up on Roman Reigns. But Dean Ambrose took it to him. It was a really good match. I honestly thought that Triple H gave Dean Ambrose a lot more than I thought he was going to. And it was a fun night of wrestling. But here we are now with Roadblock. What separates these, even though Roadblock was not put out on DVD. It'd be funny if it was on your DVD collection, like on my DVD wall up here. I don't buy the pay-per-views anymore unless something really special happens on them. Like I bought WrestleMania because I was there. I bought Royal Rumble because of what, Triple H being on the cover holding the championship. I thought that was pretty cool. I know that it's pretty easy to hit the button, but to get out of the mode of collecting DVDs and Blu-rays will always be pretty hard for me. But, I've got to the point now where if it's not a documentary or a 3-disc sort of randomized matches, I don't really want them anymore. But it'd be funny to have two Roadblock 2016 sitting under there. But, the tagline, end of the line, makes me think about this is the end of the year and WWE is just rolling over and taking it. It's almost like Roadblock looks like an edition of Monday Night Raw. You look at, Kevin Owens going up against Roman Reigns. They're building this as, will there be a double champion on Sunday? I don't want to give away my my prediction, early on and just the opening of the video, but does anybody really think that Roman Reigns is going to win the WWE Championship at Roadblock? I know that when Roman Reigns won his first WWE Championship, even though it was only for a few minutes, it was at Survivor Series. And this year's Survivor Series seemed like it was turned around because of the fact they did Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. But, last year's Survivor Series with the tournament on it, if it was in the Big Five or the Big Four or whatever you want to call it from back in the day, I don't think it finished in the top 4, top 5 pay-per-views of the year. I don't even think it was one of the best pay-per-view moments of the year. My guess is that WWE probably stuck it on their best of pay-per-views for 2015. But honestly, in my mind, it just didn't deliver. And, Roman won the championship at WrestleMania. I can't remember him holding it any other times, but do you think that really Roman Reigns is going to win the championship at Roadblock? They still need to get that win where they solidify him as being the champion, the guy for WWE. Put him on top, numero uno. I still don't even really know what they're doing with him holding the United States Championship. That's why I thought when they did the Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho match a few weeks ago on Raw, I really thought that they were going to put the title on him there, or take the title off of him there, and finally get him out of this. And maybe that would make me think that it was believable that he was going to beat Kevin Owens at Roadblock. But, they decided to go with the whole best friend storyline with Owens and Jericho and go off in that other direction and break those guys up. So Reigns was able to keep the belt, but I don't think that when Roman Reigns wins the belt, it's going to happen at Roadblock. With this being end of the line, I know that it's the end of the year, but it almost feels like they're just rolling over with these big 4 matches. The Royal Rumble is right around the corner. I know the Royal Rumble doesn't need anything to really sell it because the Royal Rumble will always be the Royal Rumble, but I just... I don't get it. Maybe they should have put something as some sort of a storyline where, just one of the matches decides if somebody gets to go to the Royal Rumble, because to me, honestly, getting on the road to the Royal Rumble is when WrestleMania season starts. For some people, it's debatable. Some people think that Royal Rumble, the road to WrestleMania, doesn't start until the Royal Rumble is over and you know who the number 1 contender is going to be. But, so many times they do a storyline about some people just getting a chance to be in the Rumble. There was a year where, they did a whole bunch of qualifying matches, and I know that these were won by guys like JTG and, just people who didn't have a chance in hell to get in there, but they made it a little bit fun. Because you know that a lot of people are going to get in there who don't deserve to be in there, because you know that when you look at somebody, there's no chance in hell they're going to be headlining WrestleMania. But then again, this year, other than if John Cena wins the Rumble and then he becomes the number 1 contender to go up against AJ, I don't see anybody who's going to win the Rumble who's going to truly main event WrestleMania. They might have a championship match, but at least it opens up the fact for the Royal Rumble that a lot of different guys can win. Your easy list is, Rollins, Ambrose, Reigns, Undertaker is a mystery if maybe he can get into it, because some people think that Undertaker is going to face AJ. John Cena's got a shot. That's more guys than we've seen have a shot to win the Royal Rumble, honestly, in a long time. And maybe if Kevin Owens loses at the Royal Rumble, maybe he can do double duty and he can get into it. But I don't even know who he's going to face. But to me, honestly, when you do Owens versus Reigns, then yeah, that's a good main event. That's a match that you probably want to see. But Rollins versus Jericho, that honestly feels like a Raw match. It feels like we've seen Sasha versus Charlotte, 100 times, and they want to have a big blow-off match between the two of these girls, where they have, an Iron Woman match, Iron Man match, whatever you want to call it. They're going to go 30 minutes. Most pinfalls wins. To me, I just can't get over the fact that, they did a Hell in the Cell match in October, and that wasn't enough for them to finish the feud. To me, honestly, the Hell in the Cell match means more than an Iron Man match does, because you're supposed to go into Hell in the Cell and you're supposed to draw everything out of yourself to beat the holy hell out of the other person. And they had a match. It was a good match. Some people thought it was the best Hell in the Cell match of the PG era. But to me, I just remember the old school Hell in the Cell matches where guys really did go in there and beat the hell out of each other. I'm not going to say that it was the worst. It wasn't Triple H versus Jericho. It wasn't Triple H versus Nash. It wasn't anything like, it wasn't Boss Man versus Undertaker. That one's probably the worst. But, it is what it is. I don't know. It just seems like another match. When Sasha's won the belt, it's been on Monday Night Raw. So, does it really matter in the long run? And then Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman with this whole storyline of, Mick Foley trying to fire up Sami Zayn. He already wanted the match, and he pushed him to the edge of basically telling him that he's going to trade him for Eva Marie. And then basically Sami's saying that he can go in there and beat him, but it's almost like Mick Foley still doubts the guy because of the fact he's not giving him the full match. He's just giving him 10 minutes in the ring and a challenge of lasting 10 minutes. Sami Zayn doesn't want to go 10 minutes. He wants to beat him. Even if it takes 11, even if it takes 12. I don't know what kind of a false finish they're going to do, where maybe Braun Strowman is saved by the bell of 10 minutes, or maybe Sami Zayn is getting beat to holy hell and he gets saved, because Braun has put the thing out that he only needs 2 minutes to beat him. So, what is he going to do at the 3, 4, 5 minute mark? I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm not going to watch it. So I know there's people out there that are saying like, oh, shut up, Steve. You're going to watch. Just do what you're going to do. But I'm just saying this feels like Monday Night Raw. And then at the end of Roadblock, guess what? They're going to do Monday Night Raw, and then they're going to do SmackDown. Just like this week. It's just filled with wrestling, and it just gets to the point now where it's just overwhelmed. I'll lay it in on you guys. I haven't seen an episode 205 Live, and I haven't heard a review of it that makes me want to go out of my way in order to watch it. I've tried my best to give my time to SmackDown, but there's this, that, and the other, and it just feels like there's too much wrestling in the world now. And I think that's one of the things that makes me negative towards WWE is the fact that there's just so much, and I can't give them that much time to other commitments and things like that, that it's easy for me to blow it off and just say, I'll catch the next one. I'll catch the next one. Survivor Series was a great show. I watched the whole thing top to bottom. I didn't even get a chance to start it until the show was over. And even though I turned on the show and saw the end of Goldberg versus Brock in the main event, I still went and made a cup of coffee. I made some dinner, and I sat down and I watched the entire show, and I had a fun fucking time. So I'm hoping that Roadblock blows me away and wins me over, but I can honestly say I'm not expecting it. But let's talk about all these matches and then see what's going to go down come Sunday on Roadblock. Into the line, 2016. All right, let's get into it. We'll start off with the WWE Tag Team Champions. The New Day going up against Cesaro and Sheamus. The New Day, on Monday Night Raw, they eclipsed the new championship record. And on Sunday, they're going to be holding the WWE Championship Day titles for their 483rd day, surpassing Demolition, my favorite tag team of all time, coming off on Monday Night Raw because of Stephanie McMahon not winning one triple threat for the WWE Tag Team Championships, but two. And the second match was stacked even more than the first. It was hard for me to remember that Rollins and Reigns, who were in that match, as well as Jericho and Owens, Rollins and Reigns were the WWE Tag Team Champions of the Shield, because it was Dean Ambrose who was holding the WWE United States Championship at that time, even though he really never defended the title besides for that one time when he fought Rob Van Dam on the SummerSlam pre-show. He rarely defended that United States Championship after he won it. The Shield was always involved in lots of, six-man, well, I guess it'd be three-man tag matches. Always really fun, but it just is always funny. They put that title on him, and he never really had to do anything to defend it. And then they made that big deal about it when he was basically stripped, when he had to defend the United States Championship in a battle royal. And then with Sheamus winning the battle royal, people thought that was actually the moment that Sheamus turned heel. But it is what it is. If you're like a lot of people out there not even knowing what Sheamus and Cesaro did to become number one contenders again after losing on Monday on the Tribute to the Troop show, which was held on Wednesday, I'm guessing that this show was live. I didn't hear that they recorded this during SmackDown. That would have been one hell of a show, though, if they did, with them doing SmackDown as well as 305 Live. And I didn't hear anything of 305 Live. Oh, whoa, we get into the heavyweights now. 205 Live, I apologize. I'm guessing that... I don't know, that would have been one hell of a show if they did. I got lost there because I made that small little mistake. But that's not enough to end the video. We're going to keep on pulling through. But Cesaro and Sheamus won a fatal four-way for the number one contenders at the tag titles. Cesaro and Sheamus beat The Club, as well as two huge tag teams on the Monday Night Raw roster, the Shining Stars, as well as Goldust and R-Truth. But hey, they gotta beat somebody, you know. Cesaro and Sheamus, they have a real shot to go out there and beat the New Day. I can honestly tell you that I am ready for the New Day to lose those fucking titles. They've had them forever. I know that the New Day has shown a little bit of a side of gray. I don't think honestly that they're going heel. I don't think that honestly that they are going to be breaking up in any sort of fashion. I believe that, it might just be time for the New Day to drop the titles, wrestle in another feud, and maybe go back to like when they did Money in the Bank a few years ago. Big E and Xavier Woods defended the championship against somebody at Money in the Bank in a tag match. And then Kofi Kingston went out and wrestled in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I think that honestly that's a dynamic of the New Day that they really haven't, followed up on, is these guys as singles wrestlers. Kofi Kingston, he did have that feud against Randy Orton where he did pin Randy at Madison Square Garden, got a huge pop, and people have been led to believe that Randy Orton buried Kofi Kingston because he made a mistake doing the RKO. It is what it is, and, Kofi just sort of got pushed down to the mid-card, and, nothing else really ever happened with him. Big E was a guy who came in. They thought that he was going to be the next Hulk Hogan. They had him tagging with John Cena and CM Punk in six-man tags. He sort of became Intercontinental Champion, and they kind of faded him out. Xavier Woods, if he didn't have the New Day, I don't even know what he would be doing right now. There was a lot of talk that because of, the ESPN special, sort of showing that Xavier Woods had another side to him, that he, was working hard, going to school to achieve his PhD, that was one of the main reasons why he was brought up to the main roster, to have a good ending to the ESPN NXT Behind the Curtain special that they ran a few years ago. Because once he came up, he wasn't doing shit. I mean, it was him and R-Truth wrestling against somebody. I think, wasn't it Rusev? Because Rusev was just beating guys left and right. And for some reason, they kept putting them up against black guys. And that was kind of the joke, that Rusev was trying to beat all these guys. And they even put R-Truth and Xavier Woods together. And then Xavier Woods also had that feud against Brodus Clay, because they had the Funkadactyls came out and did his entrance, and I think he came out to their theme, and that pissed Brodus Clay off, and I don't know. The whole thing was dumb. It is what it is. But like I said, I'm rooting for Sheamus and Cesaro just to beat these fools, just to get the belts off them, just because I want something new. I've been talking about the tag team division for a long time. I really thought that that they really were in for a change. But here, look at WWE. They did the Survivor Series. They did the 5 teams on 5 teams, which was huge, because I don't even think WWE has had 5 tag teams on the roster in years. And here they actually have 10 real tag teams, on Raw and SmackDown right now. And I think that's a really big deal. They even got tag teams that weren't even on the show. I think the Ascension weren't on the team. I mean, they're bringing in the Spirit Squad from outside. They're bringing in the Headbangers from outside. R-Truth and Goldust weren't on the team for Monday Night Raw. So, I mean, it's a great time for tag teams. It just, I can honestly say that I don't think they're behind the right people right now. I know the Usos are injured, but over on SmackDown, the Hype Bros, even though, Zack Ryder just got injured, but I'm thinking that Zack Ryder's injury is a storyline injury that they're going to do something with. Definitely the Usos are stars on SmackDown, but American Alpha is a team that seems like they can't buy a win right now, and I don't know if they're paying their dues because they just came up from NXT. Look at Monday Night Raw, the Club. I mean, they came in, being built up as, friends of AJ Styles, a huge tag team from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I don't know what the hell's going on with them. I know a lot of it at the end had to be built around that they wanted New Day to surpass Demolition's record, but, they've beat New Day 2, maybe even 3 times in non-title matches, but they wrestled, it seemed like 5 times for the championships in a row and lost them all. And they even lost that last one on Raw. I don't know why they can't get it done. I'm not saying that my guys have to win every time or it's not good, but I mean the club at American Alpha, no doubt in anybody's mind. These guys are stars. They should be leading the tag team division of Raw and SmackDown, and they're not doing nothing. So I'm putting my money on Sheamus and Cesaro. I'm hoping that they get the win. I know that it's funny to take the titles off the New Day immediately after they pass the record, but I'm dying for it. Come on, guys. Get the titles off of these fools, and let's go on, and let's have some fun with the tag teams. I'm not saying they need to change the championships every 30 days on every different pay-per-view, but, you know, let's have where some guys are able to beat some guys, and some guys are able to beat other guys, and it is what it is, and not just the New Day beating everybody. Let's see if they can go out and start wrestling singles matches again and start, you know, moving their way in different directions and branding the New Day instead of just being a tag team under the rule of the Freebirds, which now they're doing with the Wyatts over on SmackDown. You know, that's not fun, having another team do the same thing. I'm guessing that it's sort of a safety security net in case somebody gets injured. I'm not saying that Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, and Luke Harper are, you know, injury prone. They all are three guys that have spent time on the injury list over the past few years. But let's do something new. Let's just not copy Raw on SmackDown, and let's not copy SmackDown on Raw. Let's do something fresh. I mean, that's what Sheamus and Cesaro is. The odd couple. Two guys that, you know, really go out there and kick ass, but they don't really like each other. One's a babyface, one's a heel. I keep waiting for sort of Cesaro to go all in with Sheamus and be the heel. But we haven't seen it yet. But this is a team that honestly, a lot like the club, could be wreaking havoc, beating everybody on Raw. I don't want them to hold the title for 485 days or whatever it is, breaking this record, but let them have a run with it. And then let them beat the shit out of each other in some singles matches that people will care about because they were former tag partners and they've been watching each other for the past few months, so they got each other's number. We just saw them have the best of 7 series, and even though, you know, Sheamus won the first 3, and then Cesaro came back and he won the next 3, and there was no finish in the last, doesn't mean that people wouldn't want to see it again and it'd be fun. So, let's go. Sheamus and Cesaro win one for demolition. Get it done on Sunday. Oh man, I think I screwed up the flow of the videos. The Mountain Dew kickoff match, which is going to be held on the WWE Network, which I'm honestly surprised they're going to do a kickoff match because of the word that, you know, the Raw and SmackDown pre-shows were being, you know, I guess they got canceled is the right way to say it. If it was on any other network like NBC or CBS, a show no longer being on the air got canceled. Now the WWE pre-show is basically held in a hallway, which seems like it's being basically shot on an iPhone and being uploaded to YouTube. With Booker T and that chick who hangs out backstage all the time. I'm surprised they're going to be doing a pay-per-view pre-show, which honestly in my mind is one of the biggest jokes there is. I don't know if Jerry Lawler and Lita are going to be part of the pay-per-view pre-show or who's going to do it, but they're going to be having a match. Big Cass against Rusev. Which, honestly, in my mind, for the time that they've given this on Monday Night Raw for the past 2 weeks, I'm surprised it's a pre-show match and not being held on the regular card because there's not very many matches on Roadblock. I'm not really behind them using Kaz as a singles guy. And Rusev, to me, honestly, is one of the signature performers of Monday Night Raw. I'm not going to say that he's the main eventer. I'm not going to say that he's in the same class of guys that I want to see wrestle like Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns or even, Kevin Owens. But to me, honestly, he's one of the bigger stars that's used. And for him not to have a chance to wrestle on the actual Roadblock, End of the Line 2016 pay-per-view, is a little weird, especially with the fact that you can tell that over this past year, Big Cass, who was involved in the Fatal 4-Way for the WWE Championship back in August, that they want this guy to be a singles wrestler. They want this guy to be a single star. Honestly, in my mind, way too early in my books. And I'm not basically saying that Big Cass doesn't deserve the opportunity to be a singles wrestler if that's what they wanted him to be. But I think that honestly, they really have something with Enzo and Cass. They should be taking over the tag team division. Honestly, in my mind, I haven't seen tag team wrestlers get the response that Enzo and Cass have got since the New Age Outlaws. And I know that that's sort of a comparison that these guys got because of the fact that, they come out, they do their spiel, and everybody, chants along with them and does the whole, song and dance. A lot like when Road Dogg would come out and, "Oh, you didn't know!" Shit like that it's always fun, and it gets people going. And I don't know when that stopped, but when Enzo started doing that in NXT and people started getting along with it, it took me going to an NXT show and seeing it live to really get the act and fall in love with the fact that, everybody loved these guys. To me, sitting at home and I was watching Enzo and Cass, I didn't really understand the fact that these guys were baby faces. I thought that people just liked to sing along and do the SAWFT thing with them. I honestly thought they were heels all the time until I saw them wrestle live. But to me, honestly, I think that Enzo and Cass is great. And I think that honestly, Enzo is a great performer, and I don't know how he's going to do as a singles guy, mostly because of his size, honestly. I think that he's honestly always going to be able to hold his own with the mic, and he's going to be, far above everybody else. But when this guy gets into singles competition and he starts losing matches, I think that people aren't going to be in love with him as much. And when you have the little guy with the big friend that's able to back up his mouth, it's awesome for a tag team, and I think that you honestly should run that into the ground before trying to split Cass off and make this guy go into singles stuff. I'm not one saying that Enzo has to be a manager. I think that he's a great wrestler. I think he's a great entertainer. I just want to see these guys wrestle as Enzo and Cass for longer. They went through NXT. They pushed this guy to the main roster. And all of a sudden, all the NXT tag team stuff is thrown out the window. Let's make Cass a singles guy. If you wanted to make Cass a singles guy, why didn't he make it through NXT as a singles guy? He only made it through NXT because of the fact that he, was in this tag team with Enzo and how much they got over with Carmella and everything like that. So I just want to see that storyline ran to the finish. But honestly, in this storyline, how are you not pulling for Rusev here? I mean, if this was your life and you're Rusev and you have this girl and you got this guy trying to pick up on your girl and, he's not stopping. So basically you trap him into, because if Rusev came to Enzo and was like, "Are you trying to mess with Lana?" Enzo's going to lie his ass off. Everybody has been through this in their life, one way or another. You've had a girlfriend, and some guy's trying to talk to your girl, and you go to that guy, and you're like, "Hey, are you trying to mess with my girlfriend?" "Oh, no, man, don't worry about it. We're just friends. We're cool." And he's trying to put it on the slip, but they put one over on him. They set a whole deal up to prove that it wasn't that. So Enzo comes, he's going to go hang out. He even gives Ric Flair the high five on the way out of Monday Night Raw. Ric Flair's basically, putting over Enzo, is becoming the new Flair, hitting the town, doing Lana, this, that, and the other. He shows up at the hotel room. He takes his pants off. He's ready to get down to action. Rusev comes in. It's like, "Hey, I thought you guys were just friends. Why you got your pants off?" Bam! Hits him with the vase, knocks him out. Enzo deserved that shit. And now Cass is here trying to step up for his friend, trying to act like, Enzo didn't do nothing wrong. If I'm Cass and Enzo did what he did, Enzo deserved to get his ass kicked. You pick your boy up, you say, "Hey," you dust yourself off, you win some, you lose some, you lost this one. But now, Cass is going to go in there and catch an ass whooping because his friend is a dirty dog trying to take this guy's wife? Fuck that shit. Rusev, kick his ass. Alright, this match, honestly, in my mind, had a little bit of a weird build-up to it. Sami Zayn lost the match to Braun Strowman, and he asked for a rematch, and was not granted it by Mick Foley. And then asked, and then the asking started turning into demanding, to the point where Sami Zayn was asking to not be a part of Monday Night Raw anymore, basically saying that if Mick Foley didn't have the faith in him to fight Braun Strowman, that he wanted to leave and he wanted to go to SmackDown. Honestly, in my mind, I knew that this was building up to the fact that Sami Zayn was going to fight Braun Strowman, and I was guessing that it was going to happen at Roadblock. It seemed like that was a good pay-per-view match to have for Roadblock. But to me, honestly, when Mick Foley came out and basically said that he was trading Sami Zayn to SmackDown to protect him from Braun Strowman, I was at the point of, a lot of people have thought that Sami Zayn is a guy that has a talent that could rise to the main event. He had great matches against Kevin Owens, the big blow-off match before the WWE draft. I don't know that if it was dreamt up that they would be on different shows where Sami would go to SmackDown and then Owens would go to Raw. One thing led to another, and they both ended up being on the same show, but they built up, everything, through NXT with Owens beating Sami Zayn for the NXT Championship. The minute Sami Zayn debuted on Monday Night Raw, he went right after Kevin Owens in their first WrestleMania match, which ended up being a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn went right after Kevin Owens, and they, brought the fight to each other. These are two guys that doesn't matter where they wrestle, PWG, Ring of Honor, WWE, if these guys both ended up, living out their career and, go off and finish it in TNA like a lot of guys do, I'm sure they'll have one hell of a feud in TNA. They're not going to do it. But, to me, honestly, if Mick Foley was going to protect Sami Zayn, and say that he couldn't go in there and fight against Braun Strowman because Braun Strowman is too much of a monster, they might as well just put Sami Zayn, on 205 Live. They should make him fight as a cruiserweight. It just didn't make any sense. If people think that he's going to be the next Daniel Bryan, if, he's, the ultimate underdog who's going to keep losing and losing, but because of the fact he's losing and WWE isn't giving him the push that he thinks he deserves, that they're going to get behind him even more and push him up to being in a WrestleMania main event, a lot like Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. I don't understand it, and I don't get it. But, Mick Foley, he poked the bear, told Sami Zayn that he was going to trade him for Eva Marie because that's the only even trade that they can make between SmackDown and Raw. I still don't really get this match because Braun Strowman has basically said that he could beat Sami Zayn in 2 minutes, but Mick Foley is giving Sami Zayn 10 minutes. So, my guess is that honestly this match is going to come to the 10-minute draw mark and there's not going to be a winner. I'm not sure if it's going to be where Sami Zayn, gets the moral victory by being saved by the bell where Braun Strowman is destroying him. But there's a part of me that really believes that Sami Zayn is going to be coming down to the wire where maybe he hits the hell of a kick, right at the buzzer, and he doesn't get a chance to pin Braun Strowman for the 1, 2, 3, even though Strowman's knocked out, and Strowman gets to walk away and still say that he is undefeated, and maybe then they have the match at the Royal Rumble, and Sami is looked at as a guy that can beat the big guy and get it done. But I would think that Braun Strowman is being built up to be in the Royal Rumble, even though in my mind, he's a guy that I know because he's Braun Strowman isn't going to win the Royal Rumble. You could get in there and be somebody like a Kane or a Mark Henry that gets a moment where they get to clear the ring and just beat the shit out of everybody. Throw 5 guys over the top. Even though they get eliminated a few minutes later, they still get remembered as they came into the Royal Rumble. They eliminated 5 guys. And it sort of puts them on a map of being, a main guy in WWE. And I'm not sure really people believe that Braun Strowman really is a guy, other than just being a guy on the roster. But I don't think that this match is going to have a finish. I'm hoping that it's a fun match, but I think that it's mostly going to be revolving around the clock, which reminds me a lot of Monday Night Raw and like a beat the clock challenge, which when they do those on Monday Night Raw, I just hit the button, because honestly in my mind it always comes down to the last match is the only match that matters. Either somebody's going to beat the record of the clock or the clock's going to run out and they almost get the win but they don't get it. So it just means 3 hours of Raw that I can skip and not really watch it. So, Strowman versus Zayn, I'm hoping it's fun, but I'm thinking that honestly, it's going to be the dud of the night. This next match for the Cruiserweight Championship, honestly, is going to be a really fun one. WWE Cruiserweight Champion Rich Swann is going to be taking on TJ Perkins versus the Brian Kendrick. And I don't want to come out and basically say that WWE has to be a lot like TNA in the X Division Championship, but I remember for that time period, TNA came out and said that all X Division matches were going to be 3-ways. All X Division matches were going to be guys under a certain weight, and they ended up going away from that basically because of the fact that they started cutting the roster and they didn't have enough guys in order to always have 3-ways, but as far as I know, unless I missed something, when it comes to them being officially cruiserweights, I think this is the first 3-way that they've done. And I know that, there is the storyline to everything that's in here. TJ Perkins beat Rich Swann in the Cruiserweight Classic, which was followed up by the Brian Kendrick, who was also beat by TJ Perkins, now that I think about it, in the Cruiserweight Classic. TJ Perkins lost the title to the Brian Kendrick, Brian Kendrick lost the title to Rich Swann. And I think on Monday Night Raw, I think we just had, Perkins beat Kendrick again. So, basically in this match, everybody's beat everybody. And it just sort of builds the storyline if you don't really know what's going to happen. I can honestly come out and say that I have not been the biggest fan of 205 Live because of the fact that I was already complaining that there was enough wrestling as it was. I wasn't the biggest supporter of the Cruiserweight Classic. It's not that I don't like to watch Cruiserweight wrestling. I like to watch the Cruiserweights when they're involved in a pay-per-view, or I like to watch Cruiserweights when they're involved on Raw. I just feel like I don't even watch NXT as much as I used to, and NXT for the longest time was my favorite wrestling show that there was because of the fact that it was only an hour. And one of the reasons why I stopped watching NXT was the fact that they hooked on the Cruiserweight Classic on the end of it and took away the 1-hour show that I loved so much, and almost made it where I had to watch both hours, because it's not like you're going to change the channel or just get up and walk away. And that's basically when I broke the status of what's going on. I don't really see all night long Rich Swann losing the championship. I think that honestly, the match that I want to see is Rich Swann going up against... who do I really want to see? I guess I want to see him go up against Alexander, but Alexander is involved in a whole storyline with Alicia Fox as well as Nomar Dar. And I know that from watching just the Twitter clips that pop up, that there's a lot of guys on 205 Live that seem like they're really fun to watch. I just don't have the time to devote to sitting down for an hour. So I know that they're always going to be debuting guys on the roster. I know they want to get a lot of guys over, and in WWE, a lot of the ways that they get guys over is they get them, big wins, and they pass that championship around. So I am looking to think that, they are going to be doing title changes at least on the average of about once a month, maybe once every 2 months, to get fresh new names over. And then when guys are involved in matches, they can call them the former Cruiserweight Champion. Don't forget, this guy, won the big one. He was able to beat this guy to become Cruiserweight Champion. Anybody can beat anybody at any time. I'm still pushing for Cedric Alexander to be the guy. He's one of my favorite cruiserweights, as well as the fact that I've been watching this guy wrestle for ROH, as well as being the referee on $5 Wrestling. And I don't think there's anybody who's going to be involved in wrestling that you can see loves it more than Cedric does. So I want to see him become a star and make it as big as he can in WWE, especially as they have their own cruiserweight show. So I'm not shitting on this match. I know that it's going to be fun. I just honestly know that... I don't know. They're cruiserweights. It is what it is. It just seems like it's sort of a filler match. I'm taking Rich Swann to keep the championship, mostly because of the fact that TJ Perkins, as well as the Brian Kendrick, have already had the belt. And I think if Rich Swann's going to lose it, he might as well lose it to somebody who hasn't had it yet. Alright, if it looks like that, honestly, I've been shitting on Roadblock throughout these long strings of videos. Honestly, this is the one match that honestly, I know that when you have a WWE Raw pay-per-view, you gotta have Seth Rollins as well as Chris Jericho appear on it because of how big these characters are to Monday Night Raw. But honestly, to me, this looks like the most branch off of a worthless filler match that they honestly could have done. I know that Rollins hit the pedigree on Chris Jericho on top of I think it was a sedan Monday Night Raw a few weeks ago. I was about to say that it was a limo, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think it was on top of the limo. I think it was on a normal car. But Rollins doesn't want Jericho. Rollins really at this time doesn't even really want Kevin Owens. Rollins wants Triple H, which looks like it might be the WWE's WrestleMania match or Triple H. Maybe we're finally getting to see Rollins versus Triple H after, I guess you could say, 2 years of people thinking that this match was going to happen, as Rollins was in the Authority and Triple H was basically pushing Rollins around, and almost seems like Rollins was going to lose the push of the Authority, that Rollins kept on, doing bonehead things where basically, Rollins took out Kane, and Rollins wasn't really listening to Triple H. He wasn't taking Triple H's help, even though, he was a heel at the time. He wanted to be able to prove that he could go out and do this on his own, and he could carry the ball for WWE and be that, sort of main guy for them. But to me, honestly, Jericho and Rollins, they could go out there and have a good match, and hopefully it goes out and surprising me. But the storyline right now is between Jericho and Kevin Owens, and showing if they have a friendship involved in what they were doing. When you think about Monday Night Raw, you had Jericho and Owens having a fight inside of the ring, and Jericho basically feeding Kevin Owens to Roman Reigns' spear. They were fighting back and forth about who was in control, and basically Jericho knew that Roman Reigns was in the far corner. He was pretty much making eye contact with Roman Reigns, and he stopped the argument and got out of the ring and basically pointed like, go ahead, take the spear. Boom! There it is. To me, honestly, maybe it is what they're building to if it's not Rollins versus Triple H at WrestleMania. But to me, if WWE is sitting back and they're wondering why fans don't cheer for the babyface anymore, why do fans hate Roman Reigns, they turned Seth Rollins after SummerSlam this year to be the main babyface of Monday Night Raw. And why he hasn't won the championship, I'm not sure. But definitely, if Seth Rollins was to go out at the Royal Rumble and be able to win the match and become the Royal Rumble winner to go on to WrestleMania and fight for the championship, Seth Rollins, in my opinion, would easily be a fan favorite that would be cheered at the Rumble, and it would be the first Royal Rumble winner in I think like 3 years since it became the in thing to boo the Rumble winner and boo the WWE Network and want to go cancel because Batista won the one and nobody wanted to see that. Roman Reigns won that one and nobody wanted to see it. And shit, what am I missing? Last year Triple H won, and I think people did cheer that. So maybe I am wrong, but people did cheer the Rumble last year. But as a babyface, Seth Rollins winning the Rumble to go to WrestleMania is somebody that people would cheer. People respect, Seth Rollins. People cheer for Seth Rollins. People buy his T-shirts. They did that when he was a heel, and they respect this guy. People thought that when he came back from his knee injury, he easily could have came up and stepped into the Authority and just said, "I don't need your help. I don't want you guys. I want to prove that I can do this on my own," and been a babyface there, but. Instead, he went out there and hit the pedigree on Roman Reigns, which was a slingshot to him going right into the championship picture. He won the title, but then he lost it because Dean Ambrose cashed in at Money in the Bank. But, you can't win them all. But Rollins being a babyface right now on top of Monday Night Raw, we got to finally see the Shield reunion that I thought was being built up for a few weeks. I didn't think that they really cashed in on it enough. Them just naming that they were going to be in the match for the WWE Tag Team Championships instead of really building it up. That when they were standing in the ring together a few weeks ago, and you really didn't know, are they going to beat each other up because they're in the same ring and they have that history, or are they going to put it together because they want to fight Jericho and Owens? And I thought they would do a tag match the next week, and I don't think we've still seen a one-on-one just straight up tag match. They used the New Day in this one going after the tag titles, but we would like to see these 4 guys just beat the hell out of each other just to beat the hell out of each other, involving nobody else, so it's just them. But we'll have to see. I mean, this reminds me a lot of the Payback match with Jericho versus CM Punk, which was a great match, but the match really didn't have a build-up because of the fact that CM Punk wasn't on television. He was coming back from, I believe, WrestleMania 29. He took some time off, and Punk's came out and said it. He really didn't want to be in the match. He didn't really feel like it lived up to what it could have been, but it was fun. So these guys are competitors. They're not really looking to go out and shit the bed. They're going to give it everything they have, but with no storyline really behind it, I can't get behind it. So I'm going to take Rollins to beat Jericho, but I'm thinking that Jericho is going to poke his nose, trying to prove to Kevin Owens that he wants to be his friend in the main event. So I'm thinking that this is not the last we'll see of either guy, with these guys both probably being a part of the main event later that night. At Roadblock 2016, we get to see the blow-off of the Sasha Banks versus Charlotte feud of 2016. We've seen these girls honestly do just about everything, building back to before SummerSlam. If I think about it, I know that it was in a 3-way involving Becky Lynch. We even saw these girls fighting all the way back at WrestleMania 32. What a great match. Sasha Banks, in a lot of people's minds, was one of the MVPs of WrestleMania 32, giving one hell of a performance, even though she was not involved in the finish. But Charlotte going over. Charlotte was able to keep her championship reign until right before SummerSlam, when Sasha beat her in a surprising match on Monday Night Raw that was honestly very, very good. And then from there on, they would go on to be the first women to main event a main WWE pay-per-view. I know that it was built up as being an historic night when Sasha Banks and Bayley main evented an NXT TakeOver special as the first women to ever main event a pay-per-view. But to me, honestly, I thought it meant more with Sasha Banks and Charlotte going into the WWE's Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, having a physical Hell in the Cell match, as well as main eventing that pay-per-view. I know that since then, one of the heads of creative was released, and he was one of the heads of creative that was in charge of the women's division that really pushed for that match to be in the main event. And a lot of people have maybe thought that the reason why he was released, even though the WWE said that it was for budgetary reasons, was for the fact that he was the one who asked for that to be the main event match, and it really didn't deliver. Honestly, when you look at the Hell in the Cell show itself, I mean, what would have main evented the show if it wasn't for Charlotte and Sasha Banks? If they would have put on, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins in their I was saying the Money Bank in their Hell in the Cell match. I mean, that was the match that Jericho ran down. He locked himself in the Hell in the Cell and basically turned it into a what's the word I'm looking for? A 2-on-1, match that just was a handicap. And who wants to see a Hell in the Cell match with two guys fighting one guy? I know that it's within the rules because of the fact that there's no disqualifications, and he used the cell for his advantage of him sneaking in after taking the referee out due to the fact that, he got shot with the fire extinguisher and was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, it sort of made it look like he sprayed him on purpose, but hey, it is what it is. And Jericho ran down, cut the referees off, off, locked the referees out, made it a 2-on-1, and, it broke up the pinfalls and made sure that his guy won. And it's within the rules. It is what it is. But, I mean, if that's the end of the pay-per-view, people are going to be pissed. Honestly, in my mind, I got taken out of the women's match with the fact that Charlotte beat up Sasha before the match happened. They were carting her off, and because of the fact that they said they were going to strip Sasha Banks of the championship, all of a sudden, Sasha gets up, gets into the Hell in the Cell, and she's ready to fight, and that makes it seem like nothing happened, even though she went through the table, and that was bad enough for her not to want to get up and fight just a few minutes ago. I'm glad that this is the blow-off. I know that it was a little bit surprising because I thought we were going to see on Monday Night Raw, they were going to tip the cards to maybe see who was going to win this. Seeing how Monday Night Raw doesn't really have a women's number one contender ready to go. I mean, Bayley seems like it would be an awesome fit, but if Sasha wins, I don't really want to see Sasha versus Bayley and two baby faces going at it. If Charlotte wins, you could do Charlotte versus Bayley, and I think that's one hell of a match. It looked like that was the direction they were going, but that Sasha Banks came back from her injury, and they pretty much pushed Charlotte versus Bayley to the back of the line, and like they weren't building it up on television at all. Emelina was supposed to debut on Raw. She ended up not debuting and used it because of the fact that everybody was bowing down to the Four Horsewomen and not really caring about her debut, and it really felt like, why am I going to reward the fans when the fans don't care about me? So it almost looked like she blew it off, which makes me think that she's going to be heel. So maybe Sasha is getting the win, but they're going to wrestle for 30 minutes. They're going to be using the clock to their advantage. The 30-minute Iron Man match that Sasha Banks and Bayley had in NXT was spectacular. I think even in that match, I think Sasha Banks took a disqualification, giving Bayley a victory, to be able to have Bayley's knee be injured for the rest of the match, which is a very fun thing for them to do, for the heel to be able to say, I'm so much better than you, I know I can beat you, I'm going to spot you a victory to be able to have the advantage for the rest of the match. Was really fun, and it really did add something to it. If I had money, I'm betting that Charlotte wins this match because of the fact that she has the pay-per-view record of being undefeated, and I don't see her really losing that at Roadblock. I see her losing that at WrestleMania. I think that Charlotte is an awesome heel. I think that when Charlotte does turn babyface, she's going to have one hell of a run because of the fact that I think the fans want to cheer for her, and they really like Charlotte as a talent. Sasha Banks, who's wrestling as a babyface now, I think for as much as people like her, I think they're going to like her even more when she's able to be heel, a lot like when she was in NXT. So I think that these girls, once they get to the end of the road that they're on right now and they both flip-flop, I'm not looking for any double turn at Roadblock. I'm just trying to say that, when these girls are in the opposite roles, I think that people will support them and love them even more than they do now. This is going to be one hell of a match. I'm looking forward to this being the end of their feud. Even though I know that in 2017, I'll say probably before SummerSlam, we're going to see these girls wrestle at least on Monday Night Raw, if not in the pay-per-view, because of the fact that this is what it is. I'm not saying that this is going to be the Austin versus Rock of, these that are always going to be in the same neighborhood. They just don't they're always going to be fighting. This rivalry is not over because of the fact that they're going in different directions after Roadblock. When you go back to the days of, the Attitude Era with Rock and Austin, they had Undertaker, they had Triple H, they had a good supporting role of other main eventers for these guys to be able to fight, that still be in the main event match and be in the co-main event and still sell a pay-per-view and be around it. So the women's division will constantly be having two good women's feuds at the same time, even though they're not fighting each other. So I think there's still a lot to build off of this that's going to be very good. Put your money on Charlotte. But if Sasha wins too, I'm not going to go home unhappy. Roadblock End of the Line 2016 is going to be main evented by Roman Reigns and his chance to become a double champion. Roman Reigns is coming in as the United States champion since beating Rusev just a few months ago. Roman Reigns really hasn't really defended the United States Championship. I thought that maybe what they would do was try to make Roman Reigns a fighting champion, a lot like John Cena. I know that they weren't going to do the open challenges like Cena would do, but, let Roman Reigns fight against guys on Monday Night Raw that wouldn't normally have the chance to fight Roman Reigns. To sort of show that Roman Reigns can beat anybody on any given night. I know that John Cena did this and it worked for him. I thought that honestly that's what they would do with Roman Reigns, because there is no other reason why Roman Reigns would become the United States champion. I know that they sort of wanted him to have a big match at SummerSlam, but that sort of rolled into him fighting a few different times against Rusev and then having some sort of a feud. I know that you really didn't want to have Roman Reigns lose the feud to Rusev, but for Rusev to find a way to beat Roman Reigns, whether that was somebody butting their head into this storyline and then having their storyline break off and go into a different direction. I know that you really couldn't put Roman Reigns into this best friend storyline with Kevin Owens as well as Chris Jericho, but maybe you had, Jericho and Owens help Roman Reigns lose to Rusev, and then Rusev goes off in a different direction. He has United States champion, and he keeps on fighting and going on from there. I don't think that Roman Reigns is going to win the pay-per-view main event. I don't know how you screw him out of this. I know that it right now looks like Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho aren't on the same page and they're not getting along, but I think, honestly, they're bury the hatchet and find some way to keep friends. I know that on Monday Night Raw, Chris Jericho basically handed Kevin Owens over to Roman Reigns to take his spear. He could have told him at any time that Roman was ready to spear him, or told him to get out of the ring, tell him to duck. He could have told him 1,000 different things in order not to take that spear. But it's almost as if Jericho wanted to show Kevin Owens that, if you don't want to listen to me, if you don't want to, my help or my advice, go ahead, try and beat him. But he's ready to kick your ass right now. And it was over, and it was done for Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has been a great champion. I think this honestly is going to be a great match. I honestly, on Sunday, work 7 to 4, so I'll be off in time. I don't know what, I'm guessing the Niners will play at 1 o'clock on Sunday, so their game will be over. I don't know what the nighttime game is on Sunday, if that's going to be going up against the WWE's ROADBLOCK End of the Line 2016 pay-per-view, if that's going to be something I want to put my attention on. But it honestly looks like more than likely I'm going to be able to watch this entire show. If it's going to be good, I want to watch the whole show. It looks like an edition of Monday Night Raw. It doesn't look like anything spectacular is going to happen, but you never know. Something could blow up and be huge. I mean, if you go back to, normally it's TLC is the December pay-per-view, but they did that 2 weeks ago. That was a pretty fun show to watch. I mean, definitely the TLC match between Ambrose and Styles lived up to it. I mean, honestly, if you had to work, I think most people would turn on the network to at least watch the main event to make sure that they saw what was going down in wrestling. Because, even if the other 2.5 hours isn't going to be spectacular, this will be fun. I don't know what to say. Rollins and Jericho definitely have their singles match. They'll definitely be a part of this one. I'm guessing that Kevin Owens is going to walk away. I still, at this moment, don't feel like Kevin Owens is going to be the champion come WrestleMania 33. Things have surprised me before, but they always find a way for guys to lose the championship in January. And not really get worked lesser into the card, no matter where Kevin Owens wrestles on the WrestleMania card. Will be a good match, but I don't know. I don't really see him being the champion come WrestleMania. I don't really know of a dream match for Kevin Owens to have at WrestleMania other than Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho at this point. I don't know if that means Chris Jericho is going to be babyface. I'd love to see Kevin Owens be a babyface, but I know that he's going to be more typecast as a heel throughout his run because of the fact that he's a bigger guy, and I don't know if they think that people still like him, but I mean, the guy sells tons of shirts. He's